Hello everyone, good morning everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you are doing your exams in a great way. So now why we are coming before you through this video. So the agenda why we have this particular video session is so to have an analysis about the auditing exam which has taken place recently. So it is getting discussed among the students, or we are hearing from some students that this paper is sir, a little bit tough, sir. This paper is little bit tricky. This paper is a bit difficult to analyze and answer. So these kind of mixed comments we are getting from the people. So we are actually doing this video in order to have a in-depth analysis of this particular question paper. So let us actually try to dig deeper into this question paper. So is it paper really that difficult, or is it an average paper? Is it a moderate paper? So does it require extreme skills for the analyzing this question paper? So we are going to throw a much more focus on this particular question paper. So that is our main agenda. See, before we actually have a look at the questions, let me tell my perspective what I found from this particular question paper. One thing is for sure, this paper is not such extremely difficult that which an average student can't answer. This question paper might not be that extremely difficult, but the concept here is, the thing here is, if you have to answer this question paper, you need to have a conceptual clarity, which is going to be very much important. So if you have mugged up the questions from the material without conceptual clarity, then yes, people might face a lot of struggle. See, the entire struggle lies in identifying correct answer for the given question. That is a great thing here. So the question, whenever we read it, it will look as if, yeah, this question somewhere I have read, somewhere I have read it. So something is sounding familiar. All these things will go on in your brain, but you will not be able to point out which particular paragraph or which particular content from which particular standard should be particularly written for this answer, for this given question. That is where the most students might face difficulty. So without any delay, let us dig deeper into this question paper. Let us try to analyze how the questions should be read and understood. So this way of analyzing whatever I am going to put before you now, it is going to even help you whenever you attempt your further exams also. So please pay attention the way we are reading the question, the way we are analyzing it, and the way we are pointing out what should be the appropriate and suitable answer for the given question. So I'll be taking you through the questions slowly. So this will not just help you to analyze the given question paper, this will even help you to answer the questions in the future examinations also. So that is what going to be our agenda. So without any delay, let us proceed further into the discussion now. So we will be analyzing now the descriptive part, that 70 marks of the question paper, whatever we have to write in the descriptive marks. So that we will try to analyze. So as we are already aware, out of the 70 marks, 14 marks has to be covered in the form of true or false statements. So let us first try to address that particular issue only. So 8 true or false statements have been given. Out of that, we are supposed to write 7 true or false statements. Let us see how the questions are given and what should be the suitable answer. So I am starting with question number 1. So first one, pervasive is a term used in the context of the misstatements to describe the effects on the financial statements of the misstatements, or the possible effects on the financial statements of misstatements, if any, that are detected by obtaining sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So this question is from essay 705, where we have discussed about different kinds of modified opinion. We have qualified, adverse, disclaimer we have, and we are going to decide which particular opinion will be suitable in the given circumstances. That depends on availability and non-availability of audit evidence, and it even depends on whether the misstatement is pervasive or not. So we have seen that a misstatement will be called as pervasive if it is not confined to specific item, if it is spread across so many items, if it is even if it is confined, it is representing substantial portion, so etc etc. Pervasive definition we have seen. Now what is the question? See, they are telling that yes, pervasive is used in context of misstatements. Yes, very much correct. To describe the effects of the misstatements, fine. And it also used to describe the possible effects on the financial statements also. See, we say the effects of the misstatement when we have obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. We use the term possible effects when we are not able to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. So here two terms are used here in the question. They are telling effects of the misstatements. When we say there is an effect of misstatement, when we have a evidence, when we know about it. Whereas if they are using the term possible effect, when we use the term possible effect, so it could be because we are not able to obtain audit evidence. So the misstatement can be concluded as a pervasive. Either we have a sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, or even when we don't have sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, then also we can determine the possible effect could be material and also pervasive. So here in the next part of the question they are telling if any that are detected by obtaining sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. So if you obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, we will say effect of the misstatement. Even if you don't obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence also, then also we can say the possible effect is pervasive. Like for example, I am not able to obtain evidence regarding so many assets in the financial statements, and if all these items goes wrong, the possible effect is material and pervasive. So even we can say the misstatement can be pervasive even when there is no sufficient and appropriate audit evidence also. But in the question they are telling that are detected by obtaining sufficient appropriate audit evidence, they are covering only one scenario. One more scenario also could be there where you are not able to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, then the possible effect could be pervasive. So this statement is half true, half of the statement, this statement is not completely true. Why? Because it is not covering one more scenario of not obtaining sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. So this is how you are supposed to write an answer. So the given statement is false. Why? Because the misstatement can be considered as pervasive even if the possible effect is even if the possible effect of undetected misstatement. That means even if you don't have sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, then also the misstatement could be pervasive. So that is how you are supposed to answer. So the answer could be false here. Next one, audit findings and control deficiencies can be evaluated or assessed arbitrarily. What do you mean by arbitrarily? First of all, see, arbitrarily means randomly, without following any system. That means without following any proper structured technique, without applying any appropriate reason, you can analyze the audit findings and control deficiencies, which is not actually the case. So we have to analyze audit findings and control definitions applying our knowledge, experience and training. That is by using our professional judgment, not just on the basis of our randomly, without applying any system, without applying any technique. We are not going to analyze or evaluate audit findings and control deficiencies. We have to do it applying our knowledge, skill, training, that is using our professional judgment. We have to do it not arbitrarily, not out of not following any structured technique. So the given statement also false. Next one, inappropriate management can override controls of any organization. Yes. See, we have read the concept of internal controls in the chapter called risk assessment and internal control. There we have seen that no matter how effectively the controls are implemented, but they can only provide with the reasonable assurance. Why? Because they suffer from some inherent limitations which will stop the internal controls from providing a guarantee. So one such inherent limitation is collusion among the individuals and management overriding of the controls. So the question which they are telling is inappropriate management. That means if you have inappropriate management, if you have dishonest management, they can override internal controls of any organization. Yes, this possibility will always be there. So the given statement is true. This is one of the inherent limitation of internal control, where internal controls might not function effectively because of management themselves overriding the controls. This possibility will always be there. So that's why the given statement is true. Next one. Once the audit plan has been drafted and communicated, it is obligatory on the auditor to follow the same. So this question is from audit strategy, planning and program. So what they are trying to say is once audit plan has been developed and communicated, it is mandatory to, obligatory in the sense what? Mandatory. It is mandatory on the auditor to follow that same. Strictly you have to follow. Is it so? No. Why? Because SA 300 clearly says that planning is a continuous process. It is not a discrete phase of audit. It is going to be a continuous process. So at the beginning of the audit, we might develop an audit plan, but during the course of audit, we might get some extra information. We might get some change in the information. We might sometimes get contradictory information. So whenever you get to know this kind of extra information, it becomes necessary for the auditor to change the audit plan, to revise the audit plan. So it is not mandatory for the auditor to follow the audit plan strictly. Because of certain circumstances, sometimes you might be required to change the audit plan accordingly. So the given statement is false. Next one. According to CARO 2020, the company auditor is required to state that whether title deeds of all immovable properties held in the name of the company are disclosed in its financial statements or not. See here, this statement, as you already know from our chapter audit reporting, and particularly it is from CARO. So, and even it is regarding first clause PPE. So in that PPE clause, we have one particular point, whether all the immovable properties held in the name of the company or not. If not, I need to disclose some details. So now if we analyze the statement, they are telling whether title deeds of all immovable properties. See here, actually two things are there which we need to observe. They are telling all immovable properties, but in the CARO they specifically say immovable properties other than leased assets. But here they are not telling the thing, they are directly telling whether title deeds of all immovable properties but other than leased assets should be in the name of the company. And also whether they are disclosed in the financial statements or not, it is not a subject matter relevant for me. I need to check for just whether all the immovable properties are held in the name of the company or not, except the leased assets. That's all. So I need not go and disclose that in the financial statements. Just I need to check all immovable properties other than the leased assets are held in the name of the company or not. And also this disclosure in the financial statements, it is not my duty, it is a part of the management's duty. Clear? Right. So the given statement is also false because of two reasons. Next one. Essay 520 deals with the auditor's use of analytical procedures as substantive procedures and as procedures near the end of the audit that assist the auditor in preparation of financial statements. See, till here the sentence doesn't contain any mistake. So what they are telling is I can perform analytical procedures either as a substantive procedure or even I can perform it at the end of the audit. Yes, you can do it. But the problem lies there in the rest of the sentence, that assist the auditor in preparation of the financial statements. Why auditor will prepare the financial statements? Analytical procedures will assist the auditor in checking whether the financial statements are containing a material misstatement or not. Not that the auditor is not going to perform any procedure. First of all, he is not at all responsible for preparation of financial statements only. Then how come analytical procedure will assist the auditor in preparation of financial statements? So this given statement is also false. We have to write a justification. Essay 520 deals with analytical procedures which auditor can perform in order to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, in order to know whether the financial statements are consistent with the auditor's understanding or not. So auditor is nowhere going to prepare financial statements. So the given statement is also false. Now let us come to the next question. See, this question is little bit tricky. Most of the students might have missed a small part here. So let me try to analyze what is it. Misappropriation of assets is often accompanied by false or misleading records or documents in order to conceal the fact that the assets are missing or have been pledged with the proper authorization. See, here most of the students will do the mistake. Here lies the key point. So what they say is, if you conduct misappropriation of assets, majority of the cases that will be supported by records. We even will try to mislead the records also. For what purpose? To hide the fact that assets are missing and also have been pledged without proper authorization, not with the proper authorization. See, if the person, whoever is pledging the asset, if he is having a authorization, why it will come under misappropriation? So whenever a person who is pledging that particular asset without having authorization, then it will be a misappropriation. No. So this is a playing with a small statement, like let me show you even the direct content from the study material also. So if you see this particular sentence, this extract I have taken from the study material. Misappropriation of assets is often accompanied by false or misleading records or documents in order to conceal the fact that assets are missing or have been pledged without appropriate authorization. If you don't have authorization, then if you are going and pledging it, that is a misappropriation that you want to hide. If you have already authorization to pledge the asset, why you want to hide it first of all? See, this entire statement would have been correct just with instead of this term with if they have included without. See how minutely they are changing the details in the true or false statements. So because of that particular reason, this statement is also false. So to hide the assets which are pledged without proper authorization, but they are telling they are already having a proper authorization, there is no requirement to hide it at all. So just because of that with or without, that particular difference will change the entire perspective. Next one, materiality is not a matter of size. Obviously this statement is true. See, sometimes even small amounts could be material, and always we need not think about materially from the size perspective only. Even if you don't have proper internal control system working, that is also could be a material scenario in the organization. And even whatever is a small amount which is there material in one organization, that might not be a material in other organization. So it is not always a matter of size. See, that means if the amount is big, then only it is material. If it should be such a bigger amount, then only it is material. Not like that. Sometimes even small amounts could also be material. Like for example, research and development expenditure in the case of a pharmaceutical company, no matter how small it is still will be considered as material. So materiality will not always be a matter of size. Sometimes even very immaterial, very small amounts also could be considered as material. Even sometimes qualitative aspects like not working of the internal controls. So these also can be considered as material. So that statement is also true. Clear? So this is how we need to carefully analyze the questions and then write the answer. See, always try to remember one thing, especially in the audit, and whenever you are answering the questions to the questions given in the question paper, try to read the question minimum twice. Minimum twice you have to read the question. Why? Because sometimes we misinterpret the given sentence. Sometimes we might misinterpret the given question. We will come to a wrong conclusion. But in fact, if you give a careful reading like this, you will find out minute details, like in the place of with, without. So these kind of details, minute details, we generally overlook it. So that's why whenever you are answering any question, particularly try to read the question minimum twice. Always by giving a extra reading, you could find out these kind of intricacies in the questions. So this is what the suitable answers for this thing. True or false statements. Now let us go to the descriptive part. So 2A, this question is very simple. GE Private Limited had fully paid up capital of 1.2 crores as at the end of financial year. Paid up capital and reserves and surpluses, they are telling 1.2 crores. During the financial year 2021-22, business was interrupted due to COVID restrictions, and therefore the company incurred losses to the tune of 25 lakhs. During the year, the company also borrowed 55 lakhs each from a bank and a financial institution independently. So they have borrowed 55 lakhs each from a bank and a financial institution. That means when I say 55 lakhs each, from each entity 55 lakhs. So 55 plus 55, 1.1 crore amount of borrowings has been taken. And also it is having a turnover of 850 lakhs other than revenue of 250 lakhs. See, when ascertain whether CARO is applicable. So this question is regarding CARO applicability. Whether CARO is applicable or not, we need to decide it by 4 conditions. It should not be a holding or subsidiary of a public company. Since they did not give any details, we will assume the first condition. Second one, your paid up capital should be more than should be less than or equal to 1 crore. But here they have given paid up capital and reserves is already how much? 1.2 crores. So the limit has already exceeded. So second condition got violated. Paid up capital along with the reserves and surpluses should be less than or equal to 1 crore, but here the limit has exceeded. So one condition, even if one condition gets violated, CARO will become applicable. So second condition itself got violated. Let us see the other things also. The company incurred losses. This has nothing to do with the losses. Next, see, the thing here is 1.2 crores is a paid up capital as at the financial year ending 2020-21. I think they are asking the applicability for the financial year 21-22. So why they are giving this loss details for 25 lakhs, sir? Why? Because when I say paid up capital and reserves and surpluses, they have given paid up capital as on the last year's balance sheet date, right? So 1.2 crores. Now in the current year, they have made a loss. In the current year, what they have made? They have made a loss. So what we need to, here you do the mistake. So whatever I have told you that paid up capital and reserves and surpluses has exceeded 1 crore. This is as on the previous year, last year. If you observe here carefully, they are asking CARO applicability for financial year 21-22. Clear? So 1.2 crores is the last year's paid up capital and reserves and surpluses. In the current year, there is a loss. So loss will be reducing the paid up capital and reserves and surpluses balance in the current year. So minus 0.25 crore. So it will be 0.95 crores only. Paid up capital and reserves and surpluses as on 31st of March 2022 will be how much? 0.95 crore, less than 1 crore only. Okay, but most of the students will commit this mistake of this. So they will ignore this financial year 2021 and they will just consider that The paid up capital and reserves and surpluses is 1.2 crore. So for second condition itself got violated. No, that is not the correct thing. They have given paid up capital as on 31st of March 21. For this, we need to reduce the loss of 25 lakhs. Then the paid up capital and reserves and surpluses as on 31st of March 22 is going to be 0.95 crores only, which is less than crore. So second condition is also satisfied. Third condition, third condition, borrowings from banks or financial institutions shall not exceed 1 crore rupees. Now, if you observe the borrowings condition, 55 lakhs has been taken each from a bank and also a financial institution. That means 55 plus 55, 1.1 crore. So, third condition got violated. Next one, it had a turnover of 850 lakhs other than revenue of 250 lakhs from discontinuing operations. So turnover should be less than or equal to 10 crore, but there they specifically say turnover includes revenue from discontinuing operations also. They are telling this 850 is other than revenue from discontinuing operations. So we have to add that 850 plus 250, 1100 lakhs, that is 11 crores. So borrowings condition got violated and this turnover condition got violated. So because of that, CARO will be applicable. But I think the key point in the evaluation will be this, whether you are able to identify that paid up capital and reserves and surpluses. They have given it on financial year 2021. From that, we have to reduce this loss of 25. So it will be 0.95 crores only. Paid up capital and reserves and surpluses condition is not violated. Clear? So this is like this. You have to pay minute details even to the small aspects also. Clear? Next one. B. Tree Limited presented its financial statements for the financial year 2021-22 to its auditor for expressing an opinion thereon. The auditor, while carrying out the audit, started comparing various items of profit and loss account of the year under audit with the previous financial years. What is auditor trying to achieve by carrying out this comparison? See, in the given question, they are clearly told auditor is comparing the P&L items of the current year with the last year. Where do we do these comparisons and all? In the case of analytical procedures. So here what auditor is trying to do? Auditor is trying to perform analytical procedures. That is, he is studying the relationship between financial and non-financial items and he is doing the comparisons. By doing this comparison, what he will try to understand? He will try to get evidence whether the financial information is correct or not. So you are supposed to write about analytical procedures here. That is what they are expecting from you. Clear? Next one. So we are supposed to write analytical procedures. That is from our material, from this analytical procedures chapter, whatever question number 1 related content is that we are supposed to write and justify from the given question perspective. In the given case, auditor is trying to perform analytical procedures to obtain evidence regarding financial information. Next one. CAN is the auditor of SR Limited. The auditor expressed his opinion on the financial statements without ascertaining as to whether the financial statements as a whole were free from material misstatements or not. In your opinion, whether CAN has complied with objectives of audit considering the applicability of relevant standard? No. Why? Because one of the basic objective of SA 200 is the auditor has to obtain reasonable assurance whether the financial statements are free from material misstatements. But here they have told the auditor without ascertaining whether financial statements are giving true and fair view, he has given an opinion. So has he complied with the objectives of the standard? No. Which standard's objective is not complied? SA 200 itself is not complied. So you have to write SA 200 objectives and then give a concluding statement. In the given case, auditor failed to achieve the objectives of SA 200. Next one. Compute the drawing power for cash credit of S Limited for the month of March 2022. See, this is actually the question related to the accounts. So they are asking us to calculate the drawing power. They are not asking audit perspective question. They are asking calculation perspective question. So anyhow, let us try to calculate. So they are giving some details: stock, debtors, and also in this debtors also 5,000 debtors are there which are invoice dated 17/11/2021. That means this 5,000 rupees of debtor is for more than 3 months or 90 days. So whatever debtors are there which are more than 90 days, that should not be considered for drawing power calculation. Sundry creditors is 15,000, sanction limit is 45,000, and margin on stock is 20%, margin on debtors is 50%. Now how to calculate the drawing power? So 50,000 is the stock. From this, if you take the creditors, it will be 15,000. So net it is going to be 35,000, paid stock we call it. On this 35,000, we have to take that 20% of margin. So 35,000 into 20% of margin we have to take it off. That means 7,000 margin. If you take it off, the rest of the amount is going to be 28,000. So in that 28,000, this is the drawing power on stock. So you have to take the stock from that creditors, you have to take it out. So from on the rest of the thing, you need to take out the margin of the 20%. So 28,000 will be the amount here. And after this, we need to take even debtors also. What is the debtors value? 45,000. On this 45,000, more than 90 days. So this 5,000 we need to take it off. So totally 40,000 will be there. So on this 40,000, you have to take out 50%. So which is going to be 20,000 once again. So the net drawing power on debtors is going to be 20,000. So now 20,000 plus 28,000, which will come to altogether somewhere around 48,000 it will come. So when it is coming to 48,000, but the sanction limit is how much? 45,000 only. So drawing power will be either this amount or sanction limit, whichever is lower. Since the sanction limit is 45,000 only, so drawing power also will be 45,000. Why? Because drawing power cannot be higher than sanction limit. So the final answer here is 45,000 is going to be the drawing power in the given case. Clear? So this is what regarding how to calculate the drawing power. Next one. So, but anyhow, this question is somewhat related to the accounts. It has nothing to do with the audit. Next. Now we are proceeding with question number 3. P Limited is a company from a business group ABCD and is engaged in trading of garments. The promoters of the company are promoters and directors of some other group companies also. That means they are having some related parties. So as per the related party definition, if your directors or promoters are also the promoters or directors of other company, that entities will be considered as your related parties. You have been appointed as an auditor of P Limited. P Limited has entered into various intercompany transactions. That means they have entered into related party transactions during the year which are outside its normal course of business. What will be your duties as an auditor in relation to those transactions? Nothing but they are asking if you find any transaction 550 related question, related parties, say 550 related parties. So there in that particular standard we have given what and all are auditor's responsibilities with regard to related party transactions whenever he finds out any transaction which are now outside the normal course of business. So their auditor's responsibility, a particular paragraph will be there. So those audit responsibilities we are supposed to write here. So that is what SA 550 is dealing about. So we have to write that particular responsibility related paragraph from SA 550. Next one. B Limited is covered under section 135 of the Companies Act 2013. That is corporate social responsibility. What matters other than the amount spent, amount not spent, amount required to be spent, etc. shall be disclosed by the company with regard to CSR activities done by the company. So this also majority of the students might take it as wrong. See, this particular question is not talking about what will be auditor's responsibilities. Majority of the students will take it as wrong and try to write the reporting responsibilities under CARO. No, they are asking what disclosures are required to be given by the company in the financial statements. They are asking you to write the provisions of the Companies Act, not the auditor's responsibilities as per CARO. So what management has to disclose regarding CSR activities other than amount spent? So in the section 135 there is a clear disclosure requirements given. They have to mention whether how much amount has been utilized in the construction of the assets and how much excess amount has been spent. That details should be given. How much unspent amount is there? That details are required to be given. So like that we have specific disclosure requirements as per section 135 of the Companies Act. That is what you are supposed to write it here. Now let us continue with the next question. The newly appointed auditor of BTN Limited wants to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence about whether the opening balances contain a misstatement that materially affect current period's financial statements. What audit procedure should he perform for this purpose? So this question is regarding opening balances. So immediately the thing which should come to your mind is SA 510. So as in SA 510, they are asking as per SA 510, our objective as an auditor is to obtain evidence whether opening balances contain any material misstatement or not. The same standard is also giving a paragraph what audit procedures we need to perform. Like we need to check, we need to take the last year's approved financial statements, we need to take the opening trial balance, try to do the comparison, we need to check whatever accounting policies that are reflected in the opening balances are appropriate or not. So straightforward question from the material. So what are the audit procedures regarding opening balances? So straightforward question. Next one. The auditor of HK Limited completed the audit of the company in an automated environment. Management of the company requested the auditor to give an idea about any exceptions observed in IT environment that needs to be assessed. How the auditor should consider this request and report in light of audit perspective. So this question is from the chapter Audit in an Automated Environment. So in that particular chapter, if you follow material in the classroom discussion, question number 7 will be there. So nothing but the question which they are asking is, if you find any exceptions, that means if you find any deviations in the client's automated environment, what you are supposed to do? We will report to the management. If it is a normal deficiency, report it to the management. If it is a significant deficiency, report it to those charged with governance. So you, what and all you need to report, whether you found out any weakness, how those weaknesses are going to impact your audit, and what is the effect of that misstatements, what is the effect of the deviations on the organization. So there is a direct question in our material, in our material, in the chapter Audit in an Automated Environment. We have question number 7 there. In the classroom discussion, straightforward question they have asked, but a little bit tricky. Instead of asking directly what are you required to report, so indirectly they are giving a question. Nothing but the answer is same. If you find any deficiencies in the automated environment, how you are supposed to report it. Now let us talk about the next question. CAB, an auditor of DBF Limited, engaged in the manufacturing and trading of hardware products. While auditing, got aware of some of the secrets of the company. The auditor acted in unlawful way in order to deceive or gain an advantage over others, and also he encouraged and assisted directors to do something wrong, in particular to commit the crime. Now company has requested you to guide it as to how such acts are covered under Companies Act and what consequences auditor may face. So this particular question is about particular question will be about regarding Companies Act. From the Company Audit chapter it has been tested. So there is a dedicated section in the Companies Act which is talking about penalty provisions of the auditor. So as a when we are trying to write this particular answer, we are supposed to write that penalty provisions. What consequences auditors will face if they try to violate the requirements under the provisions of the Companies Act. And also here they are telling the auditor tried to acted in a fraudulent manner. So what consequences auditor will face. So this is what talking about the penalty related provisions of an auditor. So we have to write the respective section of the Companies Act which is dealing about this penalties. So this is a bit unusual question. Why? Because they did not give a specific scenario. They are talking about what will be the overall consequences of the auditor if he tries to commit any fraud in the company. So let us try to proceed further with next question. The auditor of RMP Limited has identified a fraud that in his opinion causes a material misstatement in the financial statements. Management personnel in higher management cadre are associated with manipulation of accounts of the company, but the auditor has not been able to understand as to why this type of fraud is generally committed. So whenever you get this information, so what they are trying to say here, the auditor has identified a fraud that causes a material misstatement in the financial statements. That means here they are particularly talking about fraudulent financial reporting. So we know frauds will be of two categories. One is fraudulent financial reporting, other one is misappropriation of assets. They are not talking about misappropriation, they are particularly talking about fraudulent financial reporting. One more hint why it is fraudulent financial reporting. So if you observe here, management personnel in higher management cadre, that means top level management, are associated with the manipulation of accounts. So we also know that the other name for fraudulent financial reporting is nothing but manipulation of accounts. So but what the question they are asking, but the auditor has not been able to understand why this type of fraud is committed. So the question is straightforward here, why fraudulent financial reporting will be committed? So why fraudulent financial reporting will be committed? Because of 4 reasons: to avoid the incidence of taxation, to withhold the declaration of dividends when there are no profits, to withhold the declaration of dividends when there are no profits, or to declare the dividends when there are insufficient profits, or when the managerial remuneration is linked with the profits of the company. So these 4 circumstances are given. So in our material also we have a direct question, why fraudulent financial reporting will be committed. So out of that question, a straightforward question has been asked, but they try to pose it as a scenario based question. But if you read this particular sentence, it is pretty much clear why this type of fraud is committed, why fraudulent financial reporting will be committed. For these 4 reasons, whatever has been mentioned in the standard, that we will write here. Next one. SPR Limited has been into the media business since 1990. During the financial year 2021-22, many notices were received by the company for hurting public sentiments, and financial claims were filed against the company. So till the time you read this sentence, the thing which should come to your mind is litigations and claims. That means company is having some litigations and claims going on against it. As an auditor of a company, you requested the management for arranging the meeting with company's external legal counsel. So SA 501. So as an auditor, you are asking the management that you want to go and directly meet with the entity's external legal counsel. Management is of the view that such meetings are necessary in certain circumstances only. Can you list down those circumstances? That means they are asking in what circumstances the auditor might feel appropriate to go and meet with the entity's external legal counsel. See, this is also a question which has been taken from essay 501. So in that they generally say that when you generally have a risk of material misstatement, you try to communicate with entity's external legal counsel through a letter of inquiry. That means you will try to communicate with him through communication over mail or letter. But generally in some extreme circumstances, the auditor might feel appropriate to go and meet with the even legal counsel also directly. In what circumstances? A particular paragraph will be there in our material in essay 501, where we say 3 circumstances: when the risk is very significant, or when the matter is difficult to understand, or when whatever management is telling and whatever external legal counsel is responding in the letter of inquiry. If these things are not matching, then you have to go and meet, then you might feel it is appropriate to go and meet with entity's external legal counsel. And whenever you want to meet, generally that will happen with the management's presence, and some representative from the management should be there to go and meet with the entity's legal counsel. So this particular paragraph, as it is there in our material, for 3 marks it has been tested. Only 3 points you are supposed to write here. Next one. After becoming chartered accountant, you have got your first assignment as an auditor of a bank branch dealing in various types of advances. What are the areas which you will be looking for obtaining sufficient appropriate evidence besides studying and evaluating internal control? Direct question: what procedures you will try to perform to obtain evidence regarding advances of a bank? How to conduct audit of advances of a bank? So from the audit of banks chapter, they are asking a straightforward theory question here. Next one. Let us have a understanding of question number 5. CAG, auditor of Sports Limited, while auditing documented all the papers. He retained some of the documents of the company on which he has not worked, along with the documents which were his working papers, saying that he was the auditor of the company. So he has the right to retain all the documents as he may require them for future reference. Comment on the action of the auditor. So this question is from the chapter Audit Documentation and Evidence. So how we will try to present, sir? First we will try to write the meaning of audit documentation, what is included in the audit documentation. As we know, audit documentation includes audit procedures performed, audit evidence obtained, the conclusions reached by the auditor. So all these things will be there. And one more thing they are telling is he retained some of the documents of the company on which he has not worked, along with the documents on which he has done his working. See, sometimes there could be some documents regarding legal contracts of the company which you generally verify. So even these legal contracts, MOA, AOA, these also you want to make it as a part of your documentation, you can do it. So just write the general provisions of this audit documentation, what is included, what is not included, and then give one concluding statement. Next one. Proceedings have been initiated against Falls Limited for holding Binami property under the Binami Transactions Act 1988 and the rules made thereunder, but such property is not recorded in the books. So the company has been engaged in the Binami transaction. As a consultant to the company, what will you advise to the company as far as disclosure requirements are concerned in relation to said proceedings? See, this also, they are not talking about auditor's responsibilities. So generally we get a wrong notion that this is regarding Caro, somewhat related to Caro, but this question is not actually related to Caro. They are asking about what are the disclosure requirements, what company has to disclose regarding Binami transaction. So if we give a detailed reading of the guidance note on the Caro, so this is somewhat a new question. So if you give a reading of the guidance note on the Caro, there you will get to know what transactions are required to be reported regarding Binami transactions, like under which asset has been, which asset is against which asset this has been held, this case has been filed, what is the carrying value of that asset, before which forum the case is going on, what are the chances of losing the case, or if you lose the case, what will be the consequences. So all these disclosures are required to be given by the management regarding the Binami transaction. So this is somewhat a out of context question. This is generally a new question which we agree. Next one. Next, 5C. The approach to audit and extent of checking are undergoing a progressive change in favor of more attention towards the questions of principle and controls, with a curtailment of non-consequential routine checking. Discuss the given statement. See, this is the question taken from the chapter Audit Sampling. So what they are trying to say here, the approach to audit and the extent of checking are undergoing a lot of changes in the recent times. That means how you are checking, what approach you are following for audit, it is undergoing a lot of change in the recent times. Why? Because the more attention is now going to principles and controls. That means now auditors are shifting their focus from routine checking, and with a curtailment, that means even the auditors are reducing the non-consequential routine checking. Nowadays auditors are reducing their routine checking of 100% of the transaction, but more shifting they are doing towards principles and controls. So they are asking you to justify the statement. So this kind of question is there in the RTP. So what you are supposed to do is, it is a very general question, not related to any specific concept, but it, in and around they are talking about audit sampling. But even you can write it with your own language also, like yes, in the recent times audit has been shifting a lot. Earlier people used to do the routine checking, but it is very costly affair, and it is very time consuming affair. And even if you do 100% checking also, there is no guarantee that auditor will be able to find out every misstatement. And now in the recent times, all the transactions are getting passed through internal control, and organizations are putting more focus on internal controls. So if you test your internal controls effectively, and if you verify the rest of the transactions on sampling basis, that will give you a better understanding of the data than the prima facie examination of all the transactions. So like this, you have to justify why sampling is better than routine checking of 100% of the transaction. So in your own words, you can justify in some 5-6 lines regarding this particular statement. Next one, T&Co Chartered Accountants, a partnership firm, is appointed as an auditor of treatment hospital run by Smile Foundation, a charitable trust. Over and above the receipts of treatment of patients during the year, Trust has received donations from various donors to treat COVID-19 patients, and also incurred some capital expenditure for the development of the hospital. On some of the investment income tax has been deducted. What are the special points to be considered by T&Co while auditing such transactions of treatment hospital? Nothing but how you are going to conduct an audit of hospital, and particularly they are asking about donation, some points you are supposed to write, and also capital expenditure. You need to check whether there is approval or not, whether investment income has been received or not, and if income tax is deducted, since it is a charitable institution, it will be generally exempted from the taxation, so they have to file an income tax refund and get back that refund. Income tax return and get back that refund. So like that, some general points which are combining this charitable institution and hospital, and particular to receipt of donations, and also this capital expenditure and income tax you are supposed to write here. Next one, D Limited is a company engaged in publishing business magazines. CAP is a statutory auditor of the company. The company takes property in the barter deal from its real estate customers against publication of their advertisement. Okay, this company is buying the property by way of a barter transaction. The properties obtained during the year through such barter deals have been considered in the books of accounts on the basis of possession letter only, and have been included in the PPE in the financial statements. So these things are, these properties are recognized on the basis of possession letter, and even they have been included in the financial statement. Considering this matter of such importance that is fundamental to users' understanding, this is an important statement here. CAP has decided to communicate the same in the audit report. CAP seeks your guidance. So how you are supposed to present this information? So they are telling some information is there which is already presented in the financial statements. The company bought the transactions on barter, they have already presented it in the financial statements, but auditor is feeling that this is fundamental to users understanding. He wants to communicate this information in the audit report. How do you think he will communicate? By emphasis of matter paragraph. So you are supposed to write about the emphasis of matter paragraph from SA 706. So, but most of the people might think that since they have given reference to PPE, property, plant and equipment, their focus might shift to this CARO once again regarding this PPE, first point of reporting. No, the question is about emphasis of matter paragraph. This sentence is very important in this question, very crucial sentence. Considering this matter is of such importance, which is fundamental to users understanding. And in the above paragraph, they have told that this information is already presented or disclosed in the financial statements. So where we will try to communicate this? In the emphasis of matter paragraph, we try to communicate this. So write about emphasis matter paragraph and give a conclusion. In the given case, auditor has to highlight this matter in a emphasis of matter paragraph. Next one. Internal audit not only analyzes effectiveness with which the internal controls of a company is operating, but also improve the effectiveness of internal control. Elucidate the statement. Nothing but they are indirectly asking you about what are the functions of the internal auditor. So this question is also there as a part of our material in the chapter risk assessment and internal control. In that also last question number 18 will be there. So that question number 18 will be about what are the functions of internal auditor. 4 functions they will say. He will evaluate internal controls, he will review financial information, he will review operating information, he will even ensure compliance with the laws and regulations. That particular answer you are supposed to write here. Next one. The senior member of the firm, Kaur and Associates, Chartered Accountants, informed to its auditing staff that at the time of audit reporting regarding corresponding figures, when corresponding figures are presented, the auditor's opinion shall not refer to the corresponding figures except in the specified circumstances. What are those exceptional circumstances? So direct question from SS 710. Generally, our opinion will not refer to this corresponding figures except in certain circumstances. What are those exceptions? We have a paragraph in SS 710. That particular paragraph we are supposed to write here. Next one. When the company is working in an automated environment, it is not necessary for the auditor to understand its automated environment and depends on the professional judgment of the auditor as to whether gaining knowledge of company's IT system is required or not. Do you agree with this statement? That means they are telling if the company is working in an automated environment, even auditor cannot, even an auditor may not understand the automated environment and directly start doing the audit. Do you agree with that? No. In the today's environment, the IT is becoming more and more relevant today. So this question is from audit in an automated environment. They are talking about relevance. How IT is relevant to the audit. Question number 2 in our material. So because automation is happening, even most of the information is getting generated from the systems. So you have to write all those circumstances and give a concluding statement that IT is very much relevant for the auditor. So he needs to understand about whether automated environment is working effectively or not, and how the company's activities are getting implemented through automated environment. That auditor definitely need to obtain an understanding. Next one. Next last question. The accountant of CHB Limited observed that amount received from Mr. A has been recorded in the account of Mr. B, and this mistake was found at the time of tallying account statement provided by Mr. A. What type of error is this? So this is a self-revealing error. This question is also from fraud and responsibilities of auditor. If you open that material, material, question number 16, self-revealing error we have given, along with the illustrations also we have given. So they are telling amount received from one customer has been recorded in other customer, but this will get automatically identified by getting a statement of account from Mr. A. So what kind of error this is? Self-revealing error. And they are also asking what are the other examples, right? 2 more examples of errors. Like there are even examples, illustrations also we have given. Like if you observe the illustrations there, we would have written there partial posting of the journal entry, like you have recorded a journal entry, but while posting to the ledger, only one side of the entry you posted. Similarly, wrong totaling of the registers. So all these kind of things will form part of our self-revealing error illustration. So direct question. So not a direct question, but indirectly they are asking. They are telling a scenario, identify the type of error. What type of error? Self-revealing error. And along with that definition, they are even asking 2 more examples. Just write it. So as I told, in our material, question number 16, specific question has been given in our material. So this is what this particular question paper is about. But for some questions, we need to still wait for the suggested answers in our opinion. So like I am waiting how this answer will be presented for this question number 5A, how the suggested answer will be given. So this is one clarification which we have to wait from the suggested answer. But after analyzing all these questions, you might have got some idea. So even when you are attempting the exam for the next attempt or so, you have to be very specific about reading the question. So that's why I told you at the beginning, don't just come to the conclusion by giving one simple reading, try to analyze it. So if you observe this entire question paper, almost all 90% of the content is there in our material. But the way of questioning is different, that's the only thing. And when you will be able to understand this way of questioning, if the question has been asked in an indirect manner, how we will be able to understand, sir? If you have a conceptual clarity, which we focus more in our classes. So that's why just reading the material, mugging up the material is not a great thing. Whether content is there in the material or not, that is not a great thing. But the understanding of the concept, if the scenario is there, that concept is given in the material. Now, if the same concept, instead of asking directly, if they try to pose a scenario based question, how you will be able to answer it. So that is a great thing here. So this is what my analysis on the question paper. Hope this has helped you, and more I think that this will help you in the future to analyze the questions in the exam carefully. That's all from my side. Thanks for your patient listening. Bye.